When COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, we do not only experience health crisis, but also we feel lost and uncertain. And because of all the protocols, our socialized relation to others becomes limited. Our ways of living then, the usual ways that we have, changed. And we all have a hard time dealing with that. We got all the fears for today and that feeling of doubt for tomorrow. It eventually affected a lot of people, most of us actually, if not all. We become more anxious than the usual, troubled, depressed, and we experience all sorts of mental issues. What worsens the situation is we are pushed to circumstances to stay in our homes and become socially isolated. The isolation then and the restriction to freely going out and to communicate to others resulted to us building more walls and staying inside our own bubble, keeping our emotions by ourselves and getting more emotionally burdened than the usual. Each day, as we live through with this new normal environment, we became more fixated on our own version of reality. That kind of reality that is only restricted to what we experience and what we feel. We then slowly and unintentionally build an invisible wall to others, increasing the so-called emotional isolation. But if there is one thing that this pandemic taught us, is that we all have this capacity to help each other and to tear down these walls of isolation. Hardwired in our brain is our ability to communicate, since we are social animals. But since the restriction limits us to do so, we need to find, if not make ways to reach out to people, especially those who are important to us. So how do you go over with empathically communicating to others in spite of all these barriers that we have right now? First thing is, learn to become sensitive. Although we cannot freely speak directly to people just like how we used to before and see how they react and what their emotions are, but I tell you, social media posts helps a lot. Social media users eventually had skyrocketed during the pandemic and people dwell more to social sites. If you have a friend, for example, who posted some depressing thoughts or eventually changed how he or she acts compared to the way that person used to do, those are red flags that we need to be sensitive about. Red flags are those indications that something is going on in that person since he or she behaves differently. Sensitivity then means becoming more observant to others. Instead of just discriminating them because of what they feel or just pushing some care icons or like buttons in their post, try to reach out to them and ask the person what he or she feels, which is the second thing that you need to do. This shows more of a genuine care about their well-being. Making a move to establish small talk, even in social media, or calling the person will always be a great help and will deeply be appreciated. But always remember, you're not there to judge. You are there to listen and to empathize. And it's not really necessary that you will have the same opinion over things for you to understand him or her. You are there to show that you care. Empathic communication happens when you are able to see others' perspective based from their experience and recognizing where they're coming from. Although, just like any other types of communication, it is a two-way street built not through discrimination, but through mutual understanding of knowing what is or are the reason or reasons of someone's thoughts and feeling and relating to what they feel. Eventually, this small habit of showing concern towards others, reaching out to them, asking what's going on, will develop our sense of open-mindedness and our ability to empathize to them. And in this trying time where we are confined in our homes, restricted with our actions, and have been limited to even show our genuine smile, empathic communication, done in whatever platforms it will surely help us to see and to realize that we have much more in common rather than differences. And that human experience, although may have slight variations, but at its very core, it is a shared journey, which is, although full of vulnerabilities and struggles, will always be worth living for because of the people who care.